Hello everyone and welcome to Victoria 3's Beginner's Guide. In this little video I want to show you what you should watch out in the beginning of this game and how you can progress further and how you actually know what to do in the next steps. Now Victoria 3 is truly massive, as you can play basically as any nation in the world in the 19th century. For starters, we are going to check our United States here, my favorite country to play, and we're going to get cracking with United States and see how we can actually start a game. By the way, if you want to know how you can play as any nation in this game, for example, as Ireland, Scotland, Wales, how you can play as Ukraine, how you can play as Venice, just have a look at my other video, how you can play as any nation in this game with a little trick that you can do in the beginning. But without further ado, let's start as the United States. Before we get started, let's have a quick look at the rules. You do have the ability to start as the Iron Man. With Iron Man, you only have one save available and you will not be able to save yourself. If you want to check this one to make it a harder game because every decision matters. You also have some stuff here that you should check out. You can leave everything at standard. For your first playthrough, you can also go for the lower AI aggression, so it will be less likely for them to go to war with you. You can also have a monument effects disabled if you don't like that, or formable nations as well. But without further ado, let's actually enable the Iron Man for this one here and start. Now, the first thing that you will notice, the game is paused, so you do have time to plan your nation right away, and you have time to analyze it as well. Because the first thing you should do in this game is you should analyze your starting nation. Every nation is different in this game. The United States is pretty complex in the beginning because you have so many states available right away. So in total, we do have around these here available. Bear in mind, not all of them, because of course we don't have the western side yet. Every nation also has some clear goals really that you should follow. You can find that in the journal right away. So for example, for the US, you get these two introductory missions, the tax and statehood and the slavery debate. For example, for the United States, we need to integrate taxes into the United States, so the game already tells you what you need to achieve for that, and also we need to abolish slavery, and also the game tells you what to do in this case. This is rather the grand scope of the game, and it is expanding the further you continue to play. I would also like to have a quick look at my states. So what we can see right away is what states are well developed and what not. We can see this on the tax income. So New York, for example, is pretty well developed right now. We do get a lot of taxes out of it. The same with Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and Ohio. These would be my states to start an industry in, because we have some well-equipped infrastructure already. We have some well-educated staff that moves there, and we also have a high migration attraction in these states because they are well equipped. Second, I would like to check where I do have some agriculture and basic raw material production available. And for that, I can also have a look at the features of the map. So wherever you do have mountains, the game gives you the mountain bonus. So Appalachian Mountains we have here, for example, that gives me a throughput, so a higher output of coal mines in these areas. Very important to know. Also, I can see there's some forestry area over here, and we also get the American chestnut forest bonus in these areas, where we do get 25% more hardwood output. We do see rivers, we do see flat land. Where we do have rivers, we get an infrastructure bonus. And where we do have flat land, we usually get a lot of agricultural tiles where we can build up some big plantations. On coastal sides, it's very important to note that we can build fishing wharfs. We can use the tiles for the ocean for fishing wharfs, but we can also use it for ports and naval bases that you want to have for your naval fleet. Now, with all that in mind, it is time to start our first action, really, and that is my construction. Very high up here, and very important is my construction menu and your current construction capacity. With 35, we don't really have the highest, but also not the lowest construction capacity. I think we can build around 3 buildings at the same time. And the most important thing right away is to get this one here ramped up. We want to get as much construction as possible. So we do have some balance over. And the first thing I usually do is I'm starting with building more construction sectors. Very important. The higher your construction capacity, the faster you can build up your industry, the faster you see tax returns, and the faster you also get more educated workforce. Let's just have a look. We can see right away where we do have some construction industry available right now. So we get around 5 at the moment in New York, Ohio, and Massachusetts. So right up here, everything is concentrated right up there. I usually like to spread my construction sector to different states where I intend to build more. So I know that thanks to the bonus of infrastructure in the river, Illinois would be perfect for factories. The same with Michigan, with its big lakes around it. So we could start building a construction sector in Illinois. Bear in mind that you don't need to have a construction sector in a state to build something there. You can still build in other states where you don't have that. I do this because I want to spread the construction sectors to different states because where I know that I'm going to build something. Because if you build something where there is a construction sector, you get a bonus and you finish those buildings faster. So Illinois would be a perfect one. The other one would be Michigan. For every construction sector that we build, we have an expense of up to 5,000. So I need to be careful how many I want to go for. Usually I like to go for 3 additional ones. Pennsylvania does not have a construction sector yet, so let's also get one cracking there. So we have now 3 construction sectors in the queue right away. So this is already going to take me quite some time, and with that we can leave the construction menu available as now. Next thing I would like to do is to counter the expenses that I'm going to have is I'm going to go with a consumption tax. Don't raise the taxes early on, right? So the general taxation level, as it will just increase your radicalization further. And for example, as the US, you will need a low amount of radicalized people in order to abolish slavery. Let's go ahead and have the consumption tax. And what should we taxate here? Well, usually I'm going with luxury goods. You can also go with grain. Seriously, never go with grain or any kind of food, basic food, because that is affecting a lot of people. I usually like to go with services. I don't really feel an increase in radicalization and unhappiness with that, and it gives me a lot of money early on for little authority cost only. So I'm going ahead and I'm going to tax my consumption on services. And because I'm damn greedy, I'm also, now that I see how much money I have in addition, I would like to further build a few more construction sectors. I'm going with one in Kentucky because I know I can build a lot of iron mines and ore mines there. And I'm probably also going to have one down here in, not in Florida really, but in Virginia. I'm going to build a second one. So building now actually 5 construction sectors. This sounds crazy, but it is absolutely not. Trust me. With that out of the way, let's have a quick look at our research. Now, nations start with different levels of research. The United States already has the first 3 tiers, more or less, research. So that is the basic farming, the mining, and the steelworking. In the military, we do have the conscription, we do have the navigation, so this gives me port levels, and we do have in the society urbanization, so we can go ahead with urbanized areas. We also have rationalism, and with that, the first education institutions available, and stuff like that, right? So we do have quite a lot of things already researched. My first research usually is the sewerage, because this one gives me another construction bonus, and it also does not take that long to research. Bear in mind, the further you go down here, the more expensive the tech becomes. So for example, identification already takes me 10 years to research. Don't do this. It's taking way too long. You will build universities eventually, and thus also get up your research boost in these areas. Let's go for modern search first, as this one is a very cool tag. It boosts my construction and my infrastructure across the nation. And the other one that I would like to go for second is then the water tube boiler, as this one allows new work modes for my mines to boost their outcome. Now, with construction and research out of the way, we could theoretically now unpause the game, because it can start running really. And one more thing that I would like to go is into my politics tab and just quickly check out the legitimacy of my government. We are at 62% right now. Now, the legitimacy is very important in order for you to pass laws more quickly. So 62 is okay. It could be better. We could try it out and reform the government and just kick out everyone and just now try to muzzle in how we could go for a higher legitimacy. Industrialist and rural folk would already give me 4% more. We could also try the petite bourgeoisie and would be at 78%, intelligentsia 97%. So with that, we would have boosted it, because they have the same attitudes usually, right? So some of them are for more liberalism, some of them are for the same laws, so they agree kind of like together to work on something. And this one, 97 legitimacy, gives you a really good boost to your law. Now, I cannot confirm here why is that the case, because the evangelicals and the armed forces would join the Whig Party, and the rural folk is part of the Whig Party. I could kick them out again, but I could also add these guys here. We get 100% out of that, and they would join, the moment I confirm now, join the Whig Party. And this is pretty important because for future elections, they will work together now as one giant bloc. We got the Free Trade Party and the Whig Party here, and they have certain agendas. The only party that I don't have in here is now the Southern Planters, and these are the pro-slavers, and we want to kick them out. We want to make them weaker as the US, for example. Now, with 100% government legitimacy, it's going to be really easy passing laws. A dedicated police force is usually one of my first ones, as it's reducing radicalization by the standard of living, and it also gets rid of the Southern Planters' political power strength. But this is very US specific. Enacting this law, and this will also take some time now to get cracking, right? And with that, we have all the things finished, and I can actually now finally unpause the game and let it run. And as we can see, after a short while, we also finish the first construction sectors right away and increase our construction capacity. We're still looking fantastic on the income, so my next goal really is just to build more construction sectors. I'm going to continue with that for a while. In Indiana, in Illinois, let's build the second one, and in Pennsylvania and New York, let's also build some more construction sectors. Now, one thing that we can see right away is that my balance is even going up right now because we are getting income taxes and consumption taxes increased. With the construction sectors finished, we have a capacity of 64. That should do the trick for a while, and the first productions we can now really start up. For that, let's have a quick look at the market and my details, and we can see the total balance, and you can also sort this one here by the lowest balance to the highest balance. And what we can see right now is, for example, we have a really high shortage of fabric and grain and grocers, so basically food. But I'm not going to boost my food industry right away, because just because the balance is negative doesn't mean that we don't have these goods anymore. We still have these goods, but we need to buy the shortage on the market, which is going to increase the price of grain in general, right? So my people are not going to starve, rather we're going to just buy them from something. And in that case here, this is turning or rising the prices we can see. Now, for grain though, I would make an exception and start some grain farms just to lower the price of grain on the market, because this will further reduce my radicalization, which is now going up. If you open your building menu down here and go for the wheat farms, for example, you can see right away where you can build wheat farms. You can't build that everywhere. You can build that where you have a lot of flat and arable land, and for example in Kansas that would be the case. However, in Kansas we only have +2 infrastructure. Now, very important to know, don't build industry and farms where you don't have any infrastructure. +2 is basically almost non-existent, as every farm and every industry you build will require one infrastructure. Let's just quickly check out infrastructure for Kansas, for example. We don't have a river here, so we don't get any boost out of it. Infrastructure is down here. You can boost your infrastructure with either you have a natural resource like a river that boosts it. You can boost it with ports. Unfortunately, Kansas is nowhere close to the ocean, and you can build it, or you can boost it with railways, right? And railways are very expensive and require engines that we don't have yet. So there is no reason why I should actually go into Kansas. Let's just have a look at something else. And for the US, for example, very strong are the northern states up here and the northeastern states up here. Also, incidentally, they also have a lot of infrastructure. New York has 34. So let's just go ahead and build some 4 wheat farms in New York, and let's also have some up here in North Dakota and in Montana, 2 each. Now, as we can see, as soon as I start construction of these, and by the way, we can build now 4 buildings at once, so this is going to be really quick. What we can see now is we're negative. We're at negative 17,000 because we have 80,000 in construction goods. Reason for that is my construction industry is now a bit bloated perhaps in the beginning, and it is consuming goods. What kind of goods? We can check this out in the construction sector. We are using the iron frame buildings at the moment, and we can see that we consume tools, fabric, wood and iron for our constructions. Now the problem is we don't have any tools on the market anymore, and we also don't have any iron on the market anymore. As a result of that, these prices are really high. We can see this because there's a gold symbol as coins now that marks it as very expensive. That means construction is now in general very expensive for us, and we can see this on the balance. This is not a big deal though, however, because construction for us is an investment. If it is right now deep red, it will be deep green later on as well. 16,000 negative only means that we do use some of our gold reserve right now, and we do have 3.5 million gold reserve. So we could live with the negative 16 or even negative 50,000 for quite some time. However, that doesn't mean that I want to stay with a construction cost of 80,000 because we're going to construct a long time and I want to lower this price. How can we do this? By making the goods that construction needs available. One of them would be the iron production that we have down here. And as we know, we do have some mountain sites available here. Also, incidentally, with some good infrastructure. So Tennessee and Kentucky have 13 infrastructure each. So let's go ahead and build some iron mines in Tennessee and some iron mines in Kentucky. This is going to queue up now. And these are going to produce me then 40 iron per level. Your primary industry that you should focus in the beginning is the tool workshop. And the tool workshop is, well, as we can see, tools are not really available because tools you need for basically everything. You need it for your mines, you need it for your farms, you need it for construction. Without tools, your economy will stagnate rather quickly and it will be very expensive for you to construct and maintain your buildings. So we need to boost that ASAP. For that, well, we do need to build more tooling workshops. However, tooling workshops do require input and they do require wood and steel. We don't have that yet. So let's also go ahead and start with the logging camps. Let's also sort it by productivity. So this is the yearly earning that you have on average in these states here. And as we can see, states where we have a lot of infrastructure give me a nice bonus right away. In Michigan, for example, let's go ahead with 3 logging camps in Indiana and in Pennsylvania. I like to spread my industry a lot because with this, you also spread your workforce across the nation. If you have everything concentrated in one port, it is very bad for the other states and you will suffer because of this long-term wise. Spread your industry early on right away. Also, what we need, of course, is steel mills. We need to produce steel to make tools out of that. Now, steels do require some coal and iron. We are already building that. And perhaps a few more coal mines that I should still focus on. As we know, we do have this bonus here, right? Across the mountains there, the Appalachian Mountains. And in that case here, let's go for West Virginia and just start with 4 coal mines right away. And also here in Kentucky with another 4. And as we can see, we have now construction of 5 buildings at the same time. The wheat farms, the iron mines, the logging camps, it's all queued up now and it's going to take a while, up to 89 weeks before everything is finished. While our construction is running, we can do still something else. We do have 1,100 influence. Influence you can use for diplomatic actions. And I would like to use that on using some of the great nations. You should check out what your interests are first and foremost. For me, the United States, it is the Western expansion. The Western expansion is going into Mexico and the Hudson Bay Company. That means at some point I will be in direct conflict with these nations. Now Mexico, when we can check it out in the diplomacy menu, is improving relationships right now with the Columbia District. And it is probably also going to be under protection of one of the big powers. So we should go ahead for Great Britain. I usually like to do this right away. Begin improving our relationship with Great Britain. We can do this. It will cost me some, I think 300 influence it cost me now. Yep, 300, and it is going to improve it. Now, it is not the goal here to go with an alliance with Great Britain. It is only the goal that they don't join any wars against us on the other side, on the opposing faction. And the more they like us, the less likely it is for them, for example, to help Mexico against us. Let's also do this for France, because France is also very international oriented and usually helps out other nations then as well. And probably Spain, because Spain has influence in the Central Americas, for example, for Cuba, that still belongs to Spain in the early game. So I'm also going to improve relations with them. And with that, we already use quite a lot of my influence right away. By now we are finishing the first iron mines, and what I can see right away is as available is getting better. The price for iron mine or for iron ore is starting to decrease. We can also see this then here as the construction cost in general is going down from 82 to 80,000, and we are slowly climbing up here now. We can also see this on the total balance as it is recovering a bit. By now, also, we have a lot of quests available. So where we started out with only 2, we get a lot of other quests now. So check this out. You don't need to do all of them, but some of them are really helpful. So the tax and statehood is the important one. This you should also focus now as soon as you have enough influence left over, starting to improve your relationships with taxes, for example, because once this is greater than 20, taxes will join. As long as they're independent, they will then join the United States, for example. Also, these journals, as I've already said, are giving you some general direction where you could go historically speaking. For example, also the US works then here with the Indian removal, so the removal of the Native Americans to colonize more land. With that being said, this is the beginning of the game. You should have now a great foundation, and then just pause the game, play it at 1 or 2 speed level, and just watch the events, watch your general market, work on your tool production with all of its implications. So that is still very important. It's the most important thing beside the grain. So these are the goods that you should really focus on, and then check out where you do have some natural resources available that give you some interesting boosts, and always also mind your infrastructure. So there you can build up some bigger industry that you want, specialize into one of few goods here that you can do, that you can then also start to export, for example, for a nice profit. I hope this was a help to you, how to orientate yourself in the beginning, and we see each other again in the next Victoria video. Stay tuned.